I work for a living. If I had all the money in the world, I would not be here. Okay? So I'm a working person, you know? And my kid has to feed her family, you know? And my great-granddaughter has to be fed by her family. I know it's hard out there, but I also know that there are a lot of things that we just said, no, I'm just going to go this way.
Right. And that she has no choice but to, you know, really pick herself up every day and just head over to work. And it's like a lot of manual labor. Like the way she carried herself in that segment was ridiculous.
All right, everyone, buckle up because we are about to get into the complete mayhem that took place on The View today. Whoopi Goldberg recently delivered one of the most ridiculous and out-of-touch takes I've seen in a long time. And what do you know? Anna Kasparian wouldn't accept that. Yes, Anna completely dismantled Whoopi, exposing her hypocrisy, woke posturing, and total detachment from the actual hardships that most Americans face. And honestly, she got it exactly correct, as ordinary people struggle with record-breaking debt, maxed-out credit cards, and skyrocketing living expenses. Whoopi lounges comfortably in her multi-million-dollar condo in Soho and talks as though she's barely making ends meet. Anna refused to tolerate it since it is offensive. The woke bullshit, the lies, and the reasons why shows like The View are so divorced from the working people they are meant to represent are all things we are going to be studying today. You'll want to stay put for this one. Let's get started.
Millions of people that felt heard. And that's what I'm trying to lock into. It won't change my stance, or maybe it will. I'm open to someone trying to convince me.
That Donald Trump is good for people?
If that's what you're hearing, you're missing my whole point.
I am.
I appreciate that people are having a hard time. Me too.
Yeah.
I work for a living.
Congratulations.
Do you? All right. Well, the ladies of The View are still trying to figure out what went wrong in the presidential election, with some still rejecting the idea that Democrats abandoning working class Americans certainly did not help their cause. Definitely hurt them in this election. What's even more interesting is how Whoopi Goldberg, someone who is worth tens of millions of dollars, views herself as a working class American. Let's take a look.
I appreciate that people are having a hard time. Me too.
Yeah.
I work for a living. If I had all the money in the world, I would not be here. Okay? So I'm a working person, you know? And my kid has to feed her family. You know, and my great-granddaughter has to be fed by her family. I know it's hard out there, but I also know that there are a lot of things that we just said, no, I'm just going to go this way.
Right.
And a lot of that is also what happened. I love what she did. Yay. You know, we talk to people all the time who say, this is what's bothering me. But the thing that's bothering everybody should not be the thing that puts 85% of other people in danger.
Yeah.
What is she talking about?
I think that's what we're saying.
I think the 60% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck already feel that they have been in danger.
One of the primary points of contention highlighted in this research is Whoopi Goldberg's claim to be a working-class American. During her appearance on The View, Goldberg portrayed herself as someone who understands the struggles that many Americans experience because she had a family and a job to support. However, Anna Kasparian and her fellow commentators vehemently disagree with this portrayal, claiming it is misleading and disrespectful to the intelligence of viewers. They argue that because of her claimed multi-million-dollar contracts, lavish houses, and decades of financial success, Goldberg is significantly removed from the socio-economic reality of the working class. Goldberg's portrayal of herself as being just one paycheck away from hardship is dishonest, and Kasparian argues that rather than attempting to appear like the average suffering American, she ought to be forthright about her money and status. The View as a platform is also widely criticized for what is perceived as its lack of genuine conversation and ideological dogmatism. Kasparian and others claim that the show is more of an echo chamber for communist talking points than a venue for open discussion. Despite its claims of openness and diversity, the show rarely, if ever, features voices that significantly deviate from its core values, particularly when there is any opposition, typically from guests who generally agree with the hosts. Conversations are well curated and non-threatening. Critics argue that this controlled environment exhibits the show's unwillingness to fully confront opposing views and further alienates viewers who are seeking real, uncensored discussions about the political future of the country.
So, yeah, but she knows, Anna.
Right,
She knows.
right.
Now, look, does she work for a living? Yeah, she does. She's a talk show host. That's working for a living.
Super hard work.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what we do. And by the way, sometimes it is hard.
No, it is hard work. Okay?
Okay.
We don't just come on the show and like talk out of our asses. Like
Now she has like
does.
100 producers and 105 hosts. Like, I've done that kind of show before, and it's super easy. But anyway, but I'm not taking that away from her. My point is, Whoopi, you can't say like you work for a living, and then I know your pain, etc., as if you're a person who isn't spectacularly wealthy. You have to at least acknowledge, look, guys, I get it. I'm wealthy and I used to be poor, but I haven't been poor in a long, long time. But, you know, here's the ways that I could relate. Just be honest about it. No problem, right? But when you make it seem like you're barely getting by and you're worried about feeding your grandkids,
come on.
come on.
No,
Come
she
on.
made it seem like she's struggling and that she
Come
has
on.
no choice but to, you know, really pick herself up every day and just head over to work. And it's like a lot of manual labor. Like the way she carried herself in that segment was ridiculous. And look, we don't know exactly how much she's worth. I want to be clear about that. There are some articles that keep citing celebrity net worth, which makes me want to pull my hair out of my head.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Guys, that's based on nothing. Like people
They
who
just make
believe
it up.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's a private citizen. She's not a public employee. So her earnings are not public information, but we can put some bits and pieces of what's been reported in the past together to figure out she's not a working class American. Okay, so Goldberg was able to negotiate a salary for Sister Act 2 back in the habit between an estimated $7 million and $12 million, making Goldberg the highest paid actress in Hollywood at the time. In 2007, she joined The View as moderator and panelist alongside creator Barbara Walters, Joy Behar, Sherry Shepard, and Elizabeth Hasselbeck. In a 2016 report from Variety, Goldberg's one-year contract was estimated to be worth between $5 million and $6 million.
Yeah, you work for a living, but you're not a working class American. There's a difference.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just, look, my point is, you don't understand what it's like to be a struggling American who's concerned about their financial stability. You get what I'm saying? Like,
100%. No, look, we've covered The View a lot, unfortunately. And so so the two things she said are just not remotely true. She's, you know, about being a working class American. She said, Me Too. I guess maybe that's a new Me Too movement for rich people on TV. Look, oh, working class, Me Too. Me Too. Come on, guys. Come on. It's just, it insults our intelligence, right? But the second thing she said near the end there, if I understood it right, was she was saying, well, we talk to people all the time that disagree. Do you? I mean, I get it that you have you have the former Trump people, etc. But there are now never Trumpers have flipped and are on your side, and they gently bring up some points that other people might be thinking, etc. And then everybody yells, etc.
Kasparian also highlights the stark contrast between Goldberg's opulent lifestyle and the terrible financial situation that millions of Americans are in. She claims that the rising consumer debt, stagnant wages, and credit card delinquencies are all clear indicators of a struggling working class that differs greatly from the lives of media elites. It is not Goldberg's financial success in and of itself that is frustrating, but rather her inability to recognize this disparity. The average American is becoming more and more reliant on loans and maxed out credit cards in order to make ends meet as a result of an unprecedented economic crisis. Kasparian claims that individuals such as Goldberg trivialize these experiences by identifying themselves with misfortune without truly experiencing it, and by neglecting their own privileged situation. By highlighting a structural gap between the people who produce the news and the people they claim to represent, the commentary broadens the focus and attacks the media and political elite class in general. Many of these media personalities are said to come from affluent homes, having gone to Ivy League universities, and have never had to deal with the financial uncertainty that many people in the country face. Their coverage and analysis are therefore influenced by an insular perspective, leading them to disproportionately focus on issues that are pertinent to their own socioeconomic circles, rather than the pressing economic challenges that the majority of Americans experience.
Do you accept criticism within the Democratic Party, let's say from progressives or populists?
oh, definitely
Oh my
not.
God,
Definitely
no way.
not. Yeah.
Like they're famous for telling everyone in the Democratic Party, shut up and accept Biden, accept Kamala Harris, accept Hillary Clinton, bow your head. That's mainly what The View does. So that's why it's, again, it insults our intelligence and it's just offensive, but forget offensive. It's annoying for her to say like, oh, we talk to people all the time. We're so open-minded. Come on,
Look,
Whoopi.
in fact, we hadn't been covering The View all that much prior to the election because it got boring. It seemed like they mostly agreed on everything. But it is interesting to see how conflict has increased on that show following the outcome of the election, because Sunny Hostin especially does not want to accept that Democrats lost due to the fact that they have abandoned the working class. She's like totally in la la land about it, and so is Whoopi Goldberg. But Sunny Hostin's on another level, okay? But anyway, putting that aside, I'm gonna just give you a little more information because I want to juxtapose the kind of life Whoopi Goldberg lives and what average Americans are struggling with right now. So let's go to graphic 4 here. After landing her gig on The View, Goldberg relocated back to New York City, where she bought a full floor loft in Soho for $4 million.
Me too. She knows.
Right,
She knows the working
right.
class.
She sold the 2-bedroom apartment in 2010, during the economic crash, of course, for just under $3 million. So she lost there. But in a search for more privacy, she moved to the New Jersey suburbs, purchasing a $2.8 million mansion in the gated community. Okay, so that's...
In New Jersey, $2.8 million will buy you a castle.
Okay, so that's the kind of life she's lived, and has been living. In the meantime, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York just came out with new data in regard to consumer debt, which is at an all-time high of $17.9 trillion, okay? Credit card balances increased by $24 billion to $1.17 trillion, as a record 600 million accounts are now open. Auto loan balances rose $18 billion to $1.64 trillion. Further, student loan balances grew by $21 billion to a record $1.61 trillion. And look, people are taking out lines of credit. They're maxing out their credit cards because they are struggling, okay? And since wages aren't keeping up with inflation, that is also leading to delinquencies. So let's look at that. Delinquency rates have also edged up from the previous quarter. About 126,000 consumers had a bankruptcy notation added to their credit reports in the third quarter. Just the third quarter alone. Overall, 3.5% of outstanding debt was in some stage of delinquency, up from 3.2% in the second quarter. So look, I give you guys that data because no, Whoopi, you're not in the same camp as the people who are frustrated and angry about the fact that they see less and less opportunity to build wealth in this country, and even worse, less and less opportunity to stay afloat when it comes to their personal finances.
Rather than success or riches in general, the critique centers on the lack of transparency and genuineness displayed by these media figures. In the end, it's clear that this goes beyond a single terrible episode of The View or a single absurd Whoopi Goldberg moment. Hosts like Goldberg would better serve the public by being honest about their financial security rather than posing as fellow strugglers, Kasparian and her fellow commentators argue. They also urge a shift in emphasis away from performative identity politics and towards more important concerns like debt, healthcare, salaries, and economic opportunity in general. They contend that only then would media figures be able to bridge the widening gap between themselves and the American working class, whose hardships they seem to sympathize with. It has to do with a more general pattern that we see in the media. While assuming the identity of working class Americans, elites live in a cocoon that is completely cut off from reality. It's time for genuine discussions led by individuals who aren't scared to question the status quo and genuinely defend the interests of the typical American. If you agree with me, kindly subscribe, like, and comment with your thoughts.